Today we're tackling the world of winning. But hold on, not just the whole like rah rah, everyone gets a trophy kind of winning. We're talking about how companies actually grab hold of success and make it theirs. We got some inspiration from the book Playing to Win. It lays out a really clear roadmap. So buckle up, everyone. Get ready to level up because we're about to unpack exactly what makes businesses thrive in a tough world.
You got it. Forget about vague dreams and those flashy here today, gone tomorrow tactics. This is all about being deliberate, making those tough choices, the ones that get your actions and your goals on the same page.
Yeah, that's what really jumped out at me reading this book. It's like so many leaders out there are just kind of tiptoeing around those tough choices. Like they're more comfortable playing it safe instead of going all in on a path, really committing to it.
Happens all the time. And you know what? It leads straight into some pretty classic
Oh
traps.
yeah, tell me about these traps.
Well, one of the biggest ones, trying to be everything to everyone.
Hmm. Yeah, I can see the appeal. Cast a wide net, catch more fish.
Seems that way, right? But in reality, spreading yourself too thin, that's how you end up not excelling anywhere.
It's true. It's like, if you're a restaurant and try to have every cuisine on the menu, Italian, sushi, barbecue, you just end up with a mediocre mishmash, no real identity. So how do the companies that really knock it out of the park, how do they avoid that trap? How do they zero in on where to put their energy, their resources?
They get that they can't be all things to all people. Simple as that. It's about picking your battles. The companies that really win, they make strategic choices, clear-cut decisions about their markets, which customers they're after, even down to which parts of their own company get the most focus.
You keep coming back to choices. I'm picking up on a theme here. It's not about reacting to every little thing that comes your way, is it?
Nope, it's not. It's about making choices, being deliberate. Which, speaking of, brings us to another trap.
Hit me with it.
Acquisitions. Using them as a quick fix.
Ugh, so tempting, though. Our industry's in a slump. Let's just buy a company that's doing hot problem solved.
It's so tempting, right? But guess what? Rarely works out that way.
It's like thinking buying a fancy sports car will automatically make you a great driver. Sure, it looks impressive in the driveway, but
Right, licks can be deceiving. Acquisitions, they often just layer on complexity without actually solving those deeper strategic issues. Real success. It comes from building a disciplined approach to strategy. It's about thinking strategically no matter what industry you're in, no matter what shiny object you're tempted to chase.
so instead of trying to buy their way out of a tough spot, companies should be focusing on developing a strong strategy from the inside out. But where do you even start with that?
It all begins with understanding what winning actually means for your company. And I don't mean some vague, we're going to be the best statement.
Right. Got to be more specific than that.
Exactly. Concrete, measurable, something that's tailored to your specific situation. One way to think about it is the difference between aiming to just play in a market versus aiming to win.
Ooh, give me an example. I love a good example.
Okay, think about the early days of personal computers. You had some companies content with just being in the game. They built basic machines, functional, nothing fancy. But then you had others driven by that real winning mindset. They were obsessed, creating the most innovative computers, user-friendly, powerful, pushing the limits. Totally different aspirations, and you know what? It led to totally different outcomes.
Makes sense. The ones who just want to participate probably ended up as like footnotes, while the ones who are out to dominate, they're the ones we remember, right?
Exactly. And it wasn't that the first group made bad products, not at all, but their aspirations. They just weren't big enough to fuel those bold decisions, that relentless innovation that creates long-term success. And this applies to, even inside a company, different departments.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Think about customer service. They could just aim to answer calls, resolve issues, right? But what if their aspiration was to deliver the absolute best customer experience in the entire industry?
Yeah, that changes things. Changes how they approach every interaction.
Absolutely. That shift in mindset, huge impact on the choices they make, the actions they take.
So even if you're not directly out there competing in the market, having that internal winning mindset, it can still elevate how you perform.
Absolutely. It's about pushing for excellence in everything you do, not settling for good enough. Yeah. Now, once you nail down that winning aspiration, that's when you can start figuring out where you're going to focus your efforts to make it real.
Makes sense, but man, the world is a big place. So many possibilities. How do you choose the right battlefield for your company?
That's where being choiceful comes in. It's recognizing, again, you can't be everything to everyone, so you need to strategically pick the areas where your company can really shine. Could be specific geographic regions, product categories, certain types of customers, even how you get your product out there, your distribution channels.
So it's like a chess player, looking at the board and deciding which squares to control, which moves will give them the advantage.
Perfect analogy. It's carefully sizing up your strengths, your resources, the whole competitive landscape. And then you decide where your unique capabilities give you a real lasting edge.
God, can you give me an example, a real-world one?
Sure. Imagine a company, they're amazing at making innovative, high-tech products. They could try to sell to everyone, right?
Yeah.
Appeal to the whole mass market. But they might be way more successful focusing on a niche like tech-savvy early adopters, the folks willing to pay a premium for cutting-edge stuff.
Makes sense. It's about finding that sweet spot where
Yes.
what you're great at lines up with what the market actually wants,
Yeah.
not just chasing the biggest crowd, right?
Exactly. Find your people.
Mhm.
Now, there are some common pitfalls companies fall into when they're making these where-to-play decisions.
Oh, pitfalls.
Yeah.
Always love a good pitfall. Tell me all about them.
Well, one is, we've all felt it, fear of missing out.
Mm.
Companies get so caught up chasing every single opportunity that pops up, they spread themselves way too thin,
Yeah.
and then they end up not gaining traction anywhere.
Yeah, like juggling too many balls. Eventually, they all come crashing down.
Exactly. A focused approach, picking your battles, way more effective. Then there's another one, I call it the grass is always greener syndrome.
Ooh, tell me about that one.
This is when companies assume their current position is like inherently bad, like they're stuck in a disadvantageous spot, so they're constantly jumping to different industries or markets that seem more attractive.
Ah, so it's like they're constantly looking over the fence instead of tending their own garden.
Yeah, making acquisitions, launching new ventures in areas they know nothing about, thinking that's the key to unlocking growth.
Always chasing the next big thing instead of focusing on building strength where they already are.
Exactly. Like a gardener who keeps digging up their plants and replanting them, hoping they'll magically grow faster somewhere else. Just ends up with a lot of disrupted soil and no thriving plants.
So the real key is to carefully evaluate your current position, see its potential, and really focus on building your strengths within that space.
You got it. Play the hand you're dealt strategically. Doesn't mean you never adapt or explore new opportunities. But when you make those moves, you gotta be thoughtful. Understand how they fit into your big picture strategy.
This is making a lot of sense. It's like you're saying strategy is as much about what you don't do as it is about what you do do.
You got it. Being intentional, disciplined in your choices, making sure every single action moves you closer to that winning aspiration.
All right, so let's say you've done the hard work.
Hmm.
You've defined your winning aspiration, chosen your battlefield. Now what? How do you actually make sure UW win in that chosen space?
That's where we get into the how to win choices. Figuring out your core approach to succeeding in that arena you've picked. Two main paths to victory. One, become the undisputed low-cost leader. Or two, differentiate yourself. Offer something unique, compelling, a value proposition that stands out.
Okay, break those down for me. Low-cost leader first. What does that actually involve?
It's all about efficiency, optimization, streamlining your operations, squeezing out costs at every single step.
So it's not just about being cheap, right?
No, it's more than that.
It's about being efficient, lean, in everything you do.
That's it. Laser focus on delivering value to your customers at the lowest possible cost. Think Walmart, classic example. Built their whole business model around being the low-cost leader in retail.
Yeah, their scale, their logistics, it's mind-blowing. Gives them a huge edge in keeping prices low.
Exactly. Another example, Southwest Airlines. Consistently low fares. How? They optimize everything. Using one type of aircraft, minimizing turnaround times at airports, you name it.
But isn't that low-cost approach risky? What happens when the economy takes a hit or those raw material prices go haywire?
Good point. There are definitely risks. That's why companies going this route need to be super disciplined, manage their costs tightly, build a flexible model that can adapt when things change, can't afford to get complacent or let those inefficiencies creep in.
So it's not a set it and forget it approach, huh?
Nope. Constant vigilance, always optimizing.
All right, makes sense. Let's talk about that other path to winning, differentiation.
All right, so instead of being the cheapest, you're offering something special, something your customers are willing to pay extra for.
Exactly.
That's the idea. Differentiation is all about creating a value proposition that truly sets you apart. Could be your product design, superior performance, top-notch quality, a strong brand, amazing customer service, anything that really resonates with your target audience.
Got it. So it's about creating that perception of added value, something that makes that higher price tag worth it.
Exactly. Think Apple. They've nailed differentiation, sleek design, innovative features, that seamless user experience. People shell out a premium for Apple products because they're seen as superior, both in how they look and how they work.
Yeah, they've created a whole ecosystem around their products, haven't they? Enhances the appeal, keeps customers coming back for more.
You got it. Another great example, Nike. Not just high-performance athletic wear, powerful marketing, celebrity endorsements, a brand that screams aspiration, achievement.
So it's not just the product itself, it's the whole package, the experience, the emotional connection you make with your customers.
Absolutely. You're crafting a brand that resonates on a deeper level.
Yeah.
Now, here's the big question. Can a company be both? Low cost and differentiated.
Ooh, good question. Can you have your cake and eat it too?
Tempting, isn't it, to try and do both? But experience shows it's really tough to be great at both at the same time. Like trying to be a world-class sprinter and a marathon runner simultaneously just doesn't work.
So it's a trade-off. Pick your lane and own it.
You got it. Trying to do too much at once. Recipe for mediocrity. Focus your energy, your resources, on what truly matters for the strategy you've chosen.
This is making me think about how important it is to have that crystal clear strategic vision from the very beginning. Otherwise, you're just going to get pulled in a million different directions and lose that competitive edge.
Absolutely. Clarity is key. Now, once you know where you're playing and how you're winning, the next crucial step is figuring out those core capabilities that will help you execute that strategy effectively.
All right, let's talk about those core capabilities. What are they exactly and why are they so important?
Think of them as the special skills, the unique processes, the resources that your company has that give you a real leg up on the competition. It's your secret sauce, the stuff that lets you actually deliver on that how to win strategy and build an advantage that lasts.
Okay, I'm getting it. Can you give me a real-world example of what a core capability looks like?
Let's say there's a company known for making super innovative products. One of their core capabilities might be their research and development team. World-class engineers, designers, the kind of people who are constantly pushing the limits of what's possible.
So it's not just about having one good product, it's about having the talent and the processes in place to keep churning out those game changers, right?
Right. It's about a system that delivers exceptional results over and over. Another core capability could be a company's deep understanding of their target customer. Maybe they're really good at anticipating what customers will want, or they've built super strong relationships with their customer base.
Yeah, if you truly get your customers, you can create products and experiences that really hit the mark.
Exactly. And that deep understanding, that's something that's really hard for competitors to copy. It's built over time through experience, analyzing data, and having a company culture that prioritizes the customer.
Like a well-oiled machine that just keeps spitting out those customer insights, giving you a huge advantage.
That's a great way to put it. Now, keep in mind, these capabilities don't exist in a vacuum. They're all connected, they work together, it's like a synergy thing. We often call this web of capabilities an activity system.
An activity system.
Hmm.
Sounds kind of technical.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
It's a way to visualize how all the different capabilities in your company relate to each other, how they contribute to making your strategy a success. Think of it like a map. It shows the key activities that drive your business and how they're all connected.
Oh, it's all about understanding how all the pieces of the puzzle fit together.
You got it. And it's about making sure those pieces are aligned with your strategy,
Right.
that they're all working together to create a really powerful advantage. For example, a company's ability to make innovative products might depend on having efficient manufacturing and a killer marketing strategy. All those capabilities work together to get those innovative products to market quickly and smoothly.
So it's not enough to just be good at one thing. You got to have a whole system of capabilities working together seamlessly to really succeed.
That's exactly it. And don't forget, these capabilities, the whole activity system, it can't be static. It has to evolve as the business landscape changes.
Makes sense. What worked 5 years ago might be totally irrelevant today. You got to constantly evaluate, refine your capabilities to stay ahead.
Absolutely. Stay agile, anticipate those future trends, and make sure your company has what it takes to thrive over the long haul.
This is getting complex. How do companies manage to build and keep up with these intricate systems in a way that actually works and can adapt?
That brings us to the final piece of our strategy puzzle, management systems.
Okay, management systems. We've talked big picture, but this is where we get into how the strategy actually gets done.
Yeah, exactly. Management systems are the structures, the processes, the metrics that make sure your brilliant strategy doesn't just stay on a whiteboard.
Ah, so they're what bring it to life.
They're the tools that make it happen, translate that vision into action across the entire organization.
Like the nuts and bolts holding the whole strategic machine together.
That's a great way to think about it. They provide the framework, the support that allows everyone to execute the strategy the right way, consistently. Could involve setting up clear communication channels, having regular strategy review meetings, putting systems in place to measure how you're doing against your goals.
Can you give me some specific examples of what these management systems might look like in the real world?
Sure. Imagine a company that's decided to be the best in the world at customer experience. Their management system might track customer satisfaction in real time, give immediate feedback to employees on the front lines, and empower those employees to solve customer issues right then and there.
So it's about closing the loop between the strategy and what people actually do, making sure everyone's on the same page, working towards the same goal.
Exactly. You're embedding the strategy into the very DNA of the organization, making it part of how you do business every single day.
This is all really insightful, but it also sounds like a lot to handle. How do companies keep these management systems from becoming just another layer of bureaucracy, stifling innovation and all that?
Great question. The key is balance, structure, and flexibility. Enough structure to give people guidance and make sure things are consistent, but also enough freedom for creativity, experimentation, and adaptation.
So a robust framework, but not a rigid one, right?
You got it. The system should be able to evolve with the company, with the market. They shouldn't hold it back.
Man, this is giving me a whole new appreciation for how complex this whole strategic management thing really is. It's not just about a brilliant idea, it's about the systems that make it happen.
Absolutely. It's a holistic approach to strategy. Everything from those big overarching choices down to the day-to-day details.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground, choosing where to play, how to win, building those core capabilities, putting the right management systems in place. But there's still one thing I'm curious about.
What's that?
We've talked about crafting a winning strategy and having the ability to support it. But how do we guarantee that it's not just talk, that it actually gets done? How do we take that strategy and make it a living, breathing part of the organization?
Excellent question. And that's where we'll pick up next time. One of the most fundamental things to remember about strategy, the thing that trips people up all the time, is that every decision, every single one, comes with trade-offs.
You can't have it all.
Exactly. You can't. You got to be willing to make those tough choices. Say, this is more important than that, and really mean it. Prioritize.
So it's about being honest about what you can actually achieve,
Mm.
right? With the resources you have, the time you have, and making the most strategic use of them, like a poker player knowing when to hold them and when to fold them.
Perfect analogy. It's about making those calculated bets. Understanding that sometimes walking away from an opportunity, even if it looks good on the surface, is the smartest move you can make. If it doesn't fit your overall goals, let it go. Another crucial thing to remember is the business world. It's constantly changing. What worked yesterday might not work tomorrow.
So having a brilliant strategy isn't enough.
Mm.
You got to be able to adjust it as the world changes around you, right?
Absolutely. Flexible mindset, anticipate trends, and be ready to pivot, to change direction when you need to.
Otherwise, you go the way of the dinosaurs.
Exactly. Think about companies like, Blockbuster. Didn't adapt to streaming, look what happened. Or Kodak. Missed the whole digital photography revolution. They had winning strategies for a time, but they couldn't or wouldn't adapt when the world shifted.
It's a reminder that no company, no matter how successful they seem, is immune to change.
For sure. Adaptability, it's crucial in today's world. And this all ties back to what we were saying earlier. Strategy is about making choices.
We have talked about choices a lot today.
Yeah.
So what's the key takeaway here?
The key takeaway is you got to be intentional. You have to be willing to say no to some things, even good things, so you can say yes to the things that truly align with your vision, with your winning aspiration. It's easy to get distracted, chase every shiny object that pops up. But real strategic discipline, it's about being selective, focusing on what truly matters.
So it's not just about being busy. It's about being busy doing the right things, the things that actually get you closer to your goals.
Exactly. Now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about those core capabilities we mentioned earlier.
More about those, please.
We touched on them briefly, but there's so much more to dig into.
I'm ready to dig.
One of the most important things to understand is the difference between capabilities that are simply important and those that are truly core to your success.
There's a difference.
Big difference. Important capabilities, those are the ones you need just to function as a business. They're like the table stakes, you got to have them.
Mhm.
But core capabilities, those are the ones that set you apart from the competition. The things that are really, really hard for others to copy.
So those are the ones that give you a real advantage in the market, the things that make you stand out from the crowd.
Exactly. Those are the ones you want to double down on, invest in, protect. Think about Disney. One of their core capabilities is their ability to create these immersive storytelling experiences.
They're the best at it. Movies, theme parks, they're masters at transporting you to another world.
Right. It's something they've been perfecting for decades. It's a huge part of what makes them successful.
So how do companies figure out what their truly core capabilities are? Is it just brainstorming, or is there a more systematic way to do it?
There are definitely frameworks and tools that can help, but one simple yet powerful approach is to ask yourself a few key questions.
Okay, like what?
First, what does our company do exceptionally well? What are the things we consistently get praised for? Second, which of those things are truly difficult for our competitors to copy? What are we uniquely good at? And third, which of those capabilities are most directly linked to our how to win strategy?
So you're looking for the things that are excellent, different, and strategically important.
You got it. That's the sweet spot. That's a core capability.
Okay, so you've figured out what your core capabilities are. How do you make sure they stay strong and adaptable over time?
That's where those reinforcing rods we talked about earlier come in.
More on those, please.
Think of them as the connections between different capabilities, the things that make the whole system stronger and more resilient.
So it's about making sure those capabilities aren't working in isolation, but are all connected and working together.
Exactly. Going back to Disney, their storytelling capability is reinforced by their amazing talent for character development, their incredible animation and special effects, and their deep understanding of what audiences want.
It's like an orchestra, with each section playing its part to create a beautiful, powerful sound.
Perfect analogy. And just like an orchestra needs a conductor to guide and coordinate everyone, companies need strong leadership to nurture and orchestrate those core capabilities. Leaders need to create a culture that values those capabilities, invest in developing them, and make sure they're woven into everything the company does.
So building these capabilities isn't a set it and forget it kind of thing. It takes constant attention, nurturing, and strategic leadership.
Absolutely. It's an ongoing process. And this brings us to another important aspect of capability development, acquiring new capabilities.
Right, we talked earlier about how acquisitions can be risky, but how do they fit into this whole capability building thing?
Sometimes the best way to get a capability you need is to bring it in from the outside. Could be through a merger, an acquisition, or even a strategic partnership.
So you don't always have to build everything from scratch. Sometimes it makes more sense to team up with or acquire a company that already has what you need.
That's right. The key is to be strategic about it. Make sure those acquisitions or partnerships align with your goals and have a clear plan for how you'll integrate those new capabilities into your existing system. Google buying YouTube is a great example.
Yeah, they saw the potential of online video early on, made a big move to get the leading platform.
Smart move. And they were smart about the integration, too. Let YouTube do its thing, but also gave them access to Google's resources and infrastructure to help them grow.
So it's not just about buying the company, it's about knowing how to use their capabilities to make your own position stronger.
Exactly. Now, there's one final piece to this capability puzzle.
I'm intrigued. What's that?
It's the role of those management systems we talked about earlier. They're essential for creating the structure, the support, and the accountability that allow capabilities to truly flourish.
We talked about management systems in the context of the overall strategy, but how do they specifically help with capability development?
Think of them as the fertile ground where capabilities can take root and grow. They provide the nutrients, the sunlight, the water, everything those capabilities need to thrive.
So they create the right environment for those capabilities to reach their full potential.
Exactly. For example, a company might implement a knowledge management system, capture and share best practices throughout the organization. That way, valuable knowledge doesn't disappear when people leave or change roles.
It's like creating a library of institutional knowledge.
Exactly. Another example, a training and development program helps employees learn the specific skills and knowledge they need to excel in their roles and contribute to those core capabilities.
So investing in your people, giving them the tools they need to be successful.
Absolutely. It's about more than just training, though. It's about creating a culture of continuous learning, continuous improvement, a place where people are encouraged to experiment, share ideas, and always strive to get better at what they do.
That kind of culture would be so valuable in today's world. Everything's changing so fast.
It's essential for companies that want to stay ahead of the curve, keep that competitive edge. Now, another critical role that management systems play is in performance measurement.
You can't improve what you don't measure.
Right, exactly. Companies need to have clear metrics, track how effective their capabilities are, figure out where they need to invest more resources or tweak their processes.
So it's like a feedback loop. It tells you if your capabilities are actually delivering the results you want and where you need to make adjustments.
Precisely. Imagine a company that prides itself on its customer service. They might track things like customer satisfaction scores, how quickly they resolve issues, how many customers come back for more. This data can tell them what's working well and where they can improve.
So it's not just about feeling like you're doing a good job. It's about having the data to prove it and to guide your improvement efforts.
Exactly. Data-driven decision-making, it's crucial when you're talking about capability development. Now, I know building and maintaining these robust management systems can seem overwhelming,
It does sound like a lot.
but there are some key principles that can help you along the way.
Okay, I'm all ears. What are those guiding principles?
Well, first and foremost, your management systems need to be aligned with your overall strategy. They have to support those core capabilities we've been talking about. They're a framework for achieving your strategic goals, not just a random collection of processes and procedures.
So everything needs to connect back to that big picture vision.
Absolutely. The system should guide people, help them make decisions, and take actions that are moving the company in the right direction. Another key principle is keeping things simple and clear.
I could see how that would be important. Complicated, confusing systems just lead to more bureaucracy and frustration.
Exactly. You want systems that are easy to understand and use, that empower people, not bog them down. Remember, the goal is to help people do their best work, not create more red tape.
So it's about finding that balance between structure and freedom.
Exactly. And finally, remember that management systems, just like everything else in the world of strategy, need to be adaptable. They need to evolve. What worked yesterday might not work tomorrow, so be ready to adjust and improve as you go.
That continuous improvement mindset, always looking for ways to do things better, more efficiently, more effectively.
That's it. It's about recognizing that building a successful company is a journey, not a destination. You're always learning, always adapting, always striving to be better.
This has been so eye-opening. I'm looking at the whole world of business strategy in a new light. It's amazing how much goes into creating those winning companies we all admire.
It's a complex and fascinating world, that's for sure. And we've only just scratched the surface. There's always more to learn, more to explore.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. Choosing where to play, how to win, building those core capabilities, putting the right management systems in place. But there's still one piece of the puzzle I'm wondering about.
What's that?
We've talked about creating a winning strategy and having the capabilities to support it. But how do we make sure that strategy actually gets implemented? How do we make it a living, breathing part of the organization, not just a document on a shelf? That's the real challenge, isn't it? You can have the most amazing plan, but if it just sits there collecting dust, it's not going to do anything for you.
Absolutely. It's where the rubber meets the road, ideas into action. And that's where strong leadership makes all the difference. It's not enough to just plan. You got to execute. That's where the magic happens.
Okay, so how do we get from that planning stage to actually getting things done? What's the secret ingredient that turns a vision into real results?
Well, it's not just one thing. It's a whole process. But a crucial part of it is what we call strategic thinking.
Strategic thinking. We've been talking about strategy all day, so what makes this different?
It's about more than just the mechanics of planning. It's about creating a mindset, a culture in your company where people at every level are thinking critically, challenging assumptions, looking at problems and opportunities with a strategic lens.
So it's not just having the plan, it's having a strategic way of thinking about everything you do.
Exactly. You see the bigger picture, you understand how different parts of the business connect, and you make decisions that get you closer to your long-term goals.
I like that. Can you give me an example of what that looks like in the real world?
Sure, imagine a company dealing with a sudden market shift. A strategic thinker wouldn't just react to the immediate crisis. They'd take a step back and say, okay, what does this mean for us long term? Do we need to adjust our strategy? What new opportunities might this create?
So it's about turning problems into opportunities, not just putting out fires, but using those fires to forge a new path.
Exactly. Strategic thinking is about being proactive, anticipating change, and constantly adapting to stay ahead.
This is making me realize how powerful this kind of mindset can be. But how do you actually create that kind of culture where everyone's thinking strategically? Is it something you can teach, or are some people just born with it?
Well, it's a bit of both. Some people are naturally more strategic, but it's definitely a skill you can develop. Companies can do a lot to encourage strategic thinking among their employees.
How so? What are some things they can do?
One big thing is creating a culture where people feel comfortable speaking up. Encourage open dialogue, debate, different perspectives. You want people to challenge the status quo, ask why, explore different solutions.
So it's about creating a safe space where people feel okay sharing their ideas, even if those ideas are a little bit out there.
Exactly. That kind of environment leads to innovation. The best ideas come out no matter where they come from. Another important thing is to give people opportunities to develop their strategic thinking skills. Training programs, workshops, mentoring, all of that.
So invest in your people. Give them the tools they need to think strategically.
Exactly. And it's not just about formal training. You can also encourage strategic thinking by giving people projects that force them to think beyond their day-to-day tasks and consider the bigger implications of their work.
I see. So give them chances to stretch their strategic muscles, gain experience thinking about the bigger picture.
Precisely. The more you expose people to those kinds of challenges, the more it becomes a habit. Over time, that strategic thinking becomes part of the company's DNA.
Okay, let's say you've done all that. You've created a culture where everyone's thinking strategically. What's next? How do you turn those thoughts into action, into actual results?
That's where having a solid framework for execution comes in. There are lots of different frameworks out there, but one effective approach is what we call reverse engineering strategic options.
Reverse engineering, what's that all about?
It's a process where you start by looking at a bunch of different possibilities and then working backward to analyze each one and figure out if it's actually feasible. It's a more rigorous and analytical approach than just brainstorming and picking the idea that sounds best.
So it's like a scientist testing their hypotheses.
Exactly. You're using data and evidence to make decisions.
I like it. So walk me through it. What are the steps in this reverse engineering process?
First, you got to be clear about what decision you're facing. What are the key factors? What does success look like? Basically, you're setting the stage for your analysis.
So define the problem, make sure everyone's on the same page.
Exactly. Once you've done that, the next step is to come up with as many potential options as possible. Be creative here, explore everything, even the ideas that seem a little crazy at first.
So think outside the box, don't limit yourself.
That's right. You never know where the best idea will come from. Now, once you have a bunch of options, the next step is to get specific about the conditions for each one. What would have to be true for this option to work? What are our assumptions? What external factors could affect things?
So you're drilling down into each option, figuring out what makes it tick.
Exactly. This helps to ground those ideas in reality, understand what it would really take to make them work.
Okay, what's next?
Now you got to play devil's advocate. Identify the potential barriers for each option. Which of those conditions seem least likely to be true? What are the deal breakers?
So stress test each option, look for weaknesses.
You got it.
Mm.
This helps you understand the risks and challenges so you can make a more informed decision.
Makes sense. You don't want to waste time and resources on something that's not going to work.
Exactly. So once you've identified those potential barriers, the next step is to figure out how to overcome them. How can you gather information to validate your assumptions? This could involve market research, pilot programs, getting customer feedback, anything that helps reduce the uncertainty.
So you're turning those potential problems into testable questions.
That's it. You're gathering data, looking for evidence to support or refute your assumptions.
Okay, you've designed your tests. Now what?
Now it's time to run those tests and see what the data tells you. Analyze the results. Draw conclusions about which options are most likely to succeed.
So let the data guide you, make decisions based on evidence, not just your gut feeling.
Exactly. This step helps you refine your choices, make smarter decisions.
This whole process is really starting to come together. It's a very systematic and thorough way to make strategic decisions.
It is, and it can really help companies make better choices, avoid costly mistakes.
Okay, you've run your tests, you've analyzed the data. What's the final step?
Now it's time to make the choice. Weigh the pros and cons, consider the risks, and pick the best path forward.
So all those insights you've gained throughout the process, they all lead up to this moment.
They do. And remember, even after you've made the choice, the work isn't over. You got to keep monitoring things, gather feedback, make adjustments. Strategy is not a one-time thing, it's an ongoing process.
This has been such an incredible conversation. I feel like I've learned so much about what it takes to not just create a winning strategy, but actually make it happen.
It's a journey. Careful planning, decisive action. You got to think analytically, solve problems creatively, and always be focused on results.
And it all starts with that strategic thinking mindset we talked about. Seeing the big picture, challenging what you think you know, approaching every problem with a strategic lens.
You said it. That mindset is the foundation for everything else.
Well, thank you so much for taking us on this deep dive into the world of strategy. It's been an amazing and eye-opening experience.
My pleasure. And to everyone listening, keep exploring, keep learning, keep pushing the boundaries. There's always more to discover in the world of strategy.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on the deep dive. We hope you've gained some valuable insights that you can use in your own work and life. Until next time, keep thinking strategically and remember that the path to success is all about making smart choices and taking action.